a traditional wife or a traditional spouse, chances are, depending on where you found yourself in life, you are going to end up in the kitchen doing a lot of chopping and cooking and then cleaning. Once again, sorry to burst everyone's bubble, but if you plan to be a fully traditional life, by which I mean that your husband's income is going to be your income, your children's income, your retirement plan, your vacation plan, etc., etc. And this is a traditional setup that women in traditional cultures, by which I mean patriarchal cultures, have had inflicted upon them, whether they wanted it to be that way or not, whether they were highly educated or not. The best thing a woman can do in a traditional culture, in a patriarchal culture, is to be a stay-at-home mom, wife, housekeeper, cook, cleaner, etc., etc., blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And that's what she ends up doing. Because the culture is such, the culture promotes it. The husband goes out and works, the wife stays at home and works. Yes, she works. She is honestly not having fun 24/7, if at all, and she gets no weekends off. The husband comes back from his 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 or whatever his timings are, and then he's off for the rest of the evening. The wife traditionally is not. Same with the weekends, especially if they have kids. The trad husband goes off and does whatever he wants, and the trad wife is nevertheless still in the kitchen, cooking, cleaning, whatevering, because guess what? People on the weekends don't stop eating. They still eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, myriad snacks in between, and kids don't care if you're a trad this or you're that, or the weekend is here or not. Kids need to eat. So if you're a traditional wife, you're going to find yourself in the kitchen doing a lot of cooking and cleaning, whether you like to cook or clean or not. Now, if there are no children involved and you happen to be in a setup where your trad husband is perfectly fine with both of you ordering out, eating out, ordering in, take out, take in, whatever it is all the time, that's great. And then you may well be the sort of wife who is going out to work also, in which case you are not a trad wife at all, because you are actually earning a salary from outside. Keep in mind, trad wives, even though they work without evenings off and weekends off, nevertheless do not get paid a salary, neither per hour nor monthly. Now, someone else will say, one of those manosphere boys, mentor boys, or whatever they are, or choose to call themselves or think of themselves trad husbands per se, is that the woman's salary is in the roof on her head and the groceries that she can afford, and what else is it? What else? How else are women being paid? Oh yes, love, affection and protection. Because the men are the providers and the protectors. I don't know what the men are protecting from, especially since a lot of spouses tend to be scared of their husbands, or of the wives tend to need protection from their husbands. Anyway, let's say you're not one of those wives and you happen to have lucked out and married a really nice, kind, loving human being who actually respects you. Nevertheless, because you are working round the clock, especially once you have children, a trad husband would not be able to afford that round the clock 24/7 hourly pay or monthly pay that a trad wife, for all the things she's constantly doing, would be earning. I think someone did a calculation of how much a traditional wife, if she were being paid for all the jobs, the myriad jobs that she does, and how much she'd be paid, and it would be astronomical. A trad husband, a usual trad husband, unless he's in the millions and billions perhaps, would apparently not be able to afford someone working 24 hours a day. Now, of course, someone else can say, well, you're doing these things for your children and you should not think of it in terms of pay. Okay, we won't, but that doesn't mean it's not work. Then please don't call it not work. Even if a trad wife is doing things for her children, it nevertheless is still work. It's a job. Call it duty. In fact, weirdly enough, in Pakistan, I remember There was a whole swath of people who wouldn't call going to their 9 to 5s jobs. They would call it going to their duty. And in the same way, a housewife, housekeeper, trad wife. I know people don't like the term housewife anymore. Okay, let's call it trad wife. If that makes you feel any better, it's all semantics at the end of the day. But she is, whether it's the kids, whether it's her spouse, whether it's the cooking or cleaning, she's doing her duty. She's getting up and going to her duty. And her duty is to be on the go 24/7. Now, again, I'm going to go back to, if you are able to afford to get married to someone who can provide a lot of help for all the duties you're going to be managing, you are still not working for free. What you are now is a manager. You're an administrator. You are administrating the help that you are overlooking. You are setting timings. You're making sure people are doing their jobs. You're making sure that there's quality, that they're doing it properly. So you're in QA also, except in the house terms. You're doing quality assurance. You're doing all sorts of things. And oftentimes, if you have a lot of help, you're managing moods also. You're managing mood swings. You're managing squabbles between some of the help. So it's not as if women who can afford a lot of help are not doing anything and they're just going to the salon and the parlor all day long. Although, if you do have a lot of house help, then yes, indeed, you are free from doing a lot of the menial tasks, which do take up a lot of time in the more middle class and other socioeconomic bracket households. You can have those long nails 24/7 because you are not washing the dishes per se. When women look at husbands in traditional households as the income, because that is what they are, traditional setups. I'm so sorry to inform you lads, but you do turn into the income. And yes, love and etc., all that. Well, it's like you have, let's put it this way, you're offered 2 jobs. One job is in an environment, the office setup is something you absolutely love, and the other one is not absolutely you love, but it's paying a lot, it's paying much more. Which job offer are you going to take at the end of the day? Seriously, answer that. Which job offer are you going to take at the end of the day? It's the same way women in traditional households, in traditional setups, have been taught to think that the husband and the income potential, his personality, is he an ambitious one? Is he not an ambitious one? How generous is he? So much of your income is going to depend on the generosity of your spouse, in much the same way that so much of your work environment, and whether you're looking forward to going to work outside every day versus not, is going to depend on the personality of your employer. So to call women gold diggers because they might want to marry a fatter paycheck is so silly, because that paycheck is the only paycheck they're going to see, their kids are going to see, the entire quality of their life is going to depend on that paycheck. The way the entire quality of what you can provide as a traditional setup husband, traditional setup spouse, is going to depend on that job offer that you take. You're going to want to take the best available job offer, by which traditional setups mean that you're going to want to take the job offer that pays you the most, in the same way that traditional wife needs to take the best job offer that comes her way, which is a spouse who's going to offer her the fattest paycheck, because that fattest paycheck is going to be able to afford her help. It's going to be able to afford the kids that they have, more perhaps after school activities. It's going to be able to afford her vacations, and him too. It's a family package at this point. His income is a family package. That package is going to determine the lifestyle, her lifestyle, and also the children's lifestyle. So all this bullshit about gold digging and whatnot, when people go on about it, especially the manosphere guys or bros or whoever they are, and then also the trad wives who are on about love conquers all, it honestly tells me that they have not grown up in traditional cultures, and they're very confused about what it actually is to be a traditional wife and to live in a traditional life. It does not mean that you are cooking and cleaning 24 hours a day and you don't get a break. you do get a break, because your spouse who's going out to work also gets a break, but you don't get a break 24 hours of the day. Now, do keep in mind that a traditional wife's life is going to vary, again, depending on where she finds herself geographically. Is she going to be a trad wife in a country and a culture which is very help heavy, in a society which is help heavy, such as Dubai? Is she going to the UAE or someplace like that? There's so many people who go and work in countries like that. They come from all different countries, very international background, and therefore they come from countries which are already help heavy, or they come from countries like the US, Canada per se, who for the middle class are not traditionally help heavy, and suddenly they find themselves in cultures which are help heavy, and it's a whole different life for them. Again, separate video. But if you are not coming from a help heavy culture, this may seem normal to you, that you, one person, the wife, is the driver and the chauffeur and the cook and the cleaner and the laundry person, and also when it comes to your children, just everything you're doing the job which in help heavy cultures 5 people do, or 3 people do, at least. So important in the trad wife lifestyle. So there's no one trad wife lifestyle that fits all, but those of us who actually come from help heavy cultures and move to cultures which for the middle class are not help heavy, because one cannot afford 24/7 in different cultures, different countries, we really are able to gauge what is on offer. The thing is that all trad wives are not equal. Depending on the paycheck that you marry and the country that you live in, and then your socioeconomic class bracket, you are going to be living a very, very, very different trad wife lifestyle. Are you going to be living the trad wife lifestyle of a president who's surrounded by golden toilets, or are you going to be living the trad wife lifestyle where you are going to be scrubbing that ceramic toilet that you have? So trad wife lifestyles, not equal, not the same. Okay.